Today we're going to make a cottage pie. Okay, so we have our mince, we have our mixed vegetables already prepared, celeries, leeks and carrots. We have our rooster potatoes which will go on the top of the cottage pie. We have our onions, our butter, our garlic, and we have our beef stock and our gravy mix, and also some chives. Okay. So what we're going to do is, we're going to start prepping up now and making a nice cottage pie. Okay. Here we are, and we've just started the prep here, right? So we peeled our onions, we peeled our garlic, and we've peeled our potatoes. We probably have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 12, 13 potatoes peeled for the top of the cottage pie. Okay, we have our water boiling here for our stock. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in our stock cubes. We're going to add in 2 stock cubes, and we're going to make some beef stock. Okay, so in the meantime what we're going to do is now we're going to finely chop our onions, crush our garlic, and we're going to cut our potatoes into 4, and we're going to put them on them to boil. Okay, so here we go. We've halved and quartered our potatoes just to speed up the process of cooking. The potatoes are going to be for the top of the cottage pie. We've crushed our garlic with our garlic crusher, and we've chopped our onions in dice with our knife. Okay, so there you can see our potatoes are ready, our garlic is ready, our onions is ready, our veg, we've opened out our veg. So what we've done is as well, we've made our stock, our beef stock. We just have that on simmer now, and we have our pot heating up now, and we're going to start frying off our mince, and we're going to put our potatoes on to boil now. Okay, so here we go. We've boiled our water in the kettle here for our potatoes, so we're going to add in our boiled water. We're going to cover the potatoes with water. Okay, what we're going to do is now we're going to add some salt. Okay, some Himalayan salt into the potatoes. Okay, we're then going to put a lid on the potatoes, and we're going to put the potatoes on to cook. Okay, turn up the heat on the gas. So in the meantime, we have our pot on here, and what we're going to do is now we're going to add some vegetable oil, and we're going to fry off our mince. Okay, so we have some olive oil here. So we just added our mince into the hot pot. Okay, we're peeling off our mince. Okay, we're going to add in our garlic. Garlic is going to go in. Okay, we're going to continuously slowly the mince. Make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom. Okay, so colour in our mince. Okay, next step is then we're going to add in our onions. So here we have our onions. We're going to add in our onions now to our mince and our garlic. We're just going to cook it off. Alright, nice and gentle. Let it cook away. Brown off all the mince, and sealing all the flavours of the garlic and the onions. Okay, you can see our potatoes are cooking away there. We have a lid on the potatoes, and we have our stock here also. Okay, so things are starting to come together now in relation to the cottage pie. You can see that the mince and the onions and the garlic is cooking away, and we're catching all the flavours. So the next stage is now to add in the celery, the carrots and the leeks. Okay, so our chopped veg. So again, this is all flavour, so we're going to cook gently fry off the vegetables, the leeks, the celery and the carrots. Okay, so we have our mince, our garlic, our onions, our carrots, our leeks and our celery all in the pots now. Okay, so we're just gently just cooking off the cottage pie here. Okay, you can see our potatoes have come to the boil again, so we're just putting our potatoes on to simmer. You can see there everything is cooking away. So the next thing we're going to do is we have some tomato puree. So we're going to add in a tablespoon of tomato puree into the mix. Okay, so we'll just mix that around there with a good mix, and as you can see, it's all starting to come together now. Okay, so it's starting to come along nicely. All the flavours are starting to come together, so it won't be long now before it's all cooked through. Next thing we're going to add in now is our stock. Okay, so we're going to add in, we probably have about a pint of stock. We're going to hold some back. Okay, so we're just going to give that a stir. Okay, and then we're just going to add in the rest of the stock now. Okay, so we have all the stock added. It's about a pint, a pint of beef stock. Okay, that we made earlier. We used 2 stock cubes, and we added we put the 2 stock cubes into boiling water, and then we just cook the stock out for about 10-15 minutes. So we've added the stock now into the cottage pie mix. So we're just going to cook that out now for another 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll add in our gravy mix. So in the meantime, our potatoes are cooking away, and they're not far off being cooked. As you can see here, the stock, the mince, and the vegetables are all more or less really cooked out. So what we're going to do is next, we're going to add in our gravy granules. Okay, so it's very important that you just judge the gravy granules. So we're going to start off with a tablespoon of gravy granules. That's 1. That's 2. Okay, we're going to give it a stir, and we're going to see what way the consistency thickens up. Okay, it's always best to just add 2 tablespoons in first, and then if the gravy granules don't thicken in the sauce, then you can add in the cottage pie, then you can add another one. Okay, so this is our 3rd gravy granules. I'm going to add it in, and we're going to stir. Okay, as you can see there, our cottage pie, our gravy mix is starting to thicken our cottage pie. So our cottage pie is starting to thicken now because we've added in 3 tablespoons of gravy mix. Okay, so we're just going to put that on simmer and let it cook away. See here, our potatoes are after being on there for the last 20 minutes, and they're cooked now. So when you get a fork and you pierce, the fork goes through the potatoes, and that gives an indication that the potato is cooked through. So what we're going to do is now we're going to strain the potatoes and make sure that there's no water in the potatoes at all. Okay, so you can see our mix here, our cottage pie. That's the consistency that we wanted. So we can see all our lovely vegetables, our carrots, our celery, our leeks, and our onions through there. So we're just going to give a little bit more greenery. We're going to add some chives into it, just to give it a little bit of flavour and a little bit of colour. Okay, so what we're going to do is now we're going to, as we say, strain our potatoes, dry off our potatoes, and mash our potatoes now. You can see here we're after straining our potatoes, and we're getting all the excess water off the potatoes in a colander here. So we've strained off our potatoes. So the next process is, we're going to put our potatoes back in the pot, let them dry out a little bit more, add some butter, and then mash the potatoes. We've cut our butter into knobs. As you can see here, we just diced it up. We have the lid on our potatoes, and we have our potatoes drying out, so our potatoes are nice and dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in the butter to the potatoes. okay, as you can see here, and we're going to let the butter melt into the potatoes naturally. Okay, so we have the best part of 3/4 of a half pound of butter there diced into knobs. Okay, so we're going to put the lid back on the potatoes and let that butter melt in for about 5 minutes. So we have our potato masher, which we're going to start off mashing our potatoes with, and then we're going to finish off with the whisk then with the potatoes. Okay, so we're just letting our butter, you can see our butter melt into our potatoes naturally. Okay, put the lid back on, and then we come back to it then in 5 minutes and we'll start mashing our potato. So we can see there are knobs of butter have nearly melted into the potatoes, so we're just going to give it the potatoes a bit of a stir. Okay, and then what we're going to do is then just to mix the butter around, we're going to start mashing the potatoes there with the potato masher. So we've used rooster potatoes and only best for mashing and for cottage pie. Okay, so we're mashing our potatoes now, so we're just going to mash them here with the masher, and then we're going to whisk them up then with the whisk. So you can see there that the potatoes are a nice consistency. Okay, we've mashed the potatoes now with the masher. So what we're going to do is now we're going to whisk and make sure all the lumps are all out of the potatoes. So we're going to give the potatoes a good whisk for about 2 minutes with the whisk to make sure there's no lumps in it. So as you can see here, we're after getting our potatoes to a lovely creamy consistency. Okay, so there's no lumps at all in the mashed potato. So what we're going to do is now we have an egg. In order to make the mashed potato crispy in the oven, we're going to beat up an egg and we're going to add it to the mashed potato. So there we go, there's the egg. We're just going to give it a beat up with a fork. Okay, just beat the yolk and the egg white together. Alright, and we're going to add that now into our potatoes. So this is going to give a lovely crispy effect to the potatoes while the potatoes are cooking in the oven. Okay, so we add in our egg. And what we're going to do is we're just going to whisk in the egg, mix in the egg, and then the egg is going to make the mix, and the potato, when it's on top in the oven, is going to make it lovely and crispy. So here we go, there's our cottage pie mix is ready. Okay, our mashed potato mix is ready now. So what we're going to do is now we're going to start putting the cottage pie together. So normally what you do is you would use a ladle, and you just put a ladle, you half fill the dish with the mince and the cottage pie mix, the mince and the vegetables. Okay, and you just flatten it out. Okay, get a nice even mix. Make sure that it's halfway up the dish. Okay, so there we go. Just mix that out. Okay, and the next step is then we're going to add our potato. As you can see there, our pot is completely empty of all the mince. We've spread the mince out. It's more or less halfway up in the dish. We've also made a little small one here. We've enough mix here, so this we normally get about 5 portions out of the dish, and then we just made a small dish for maybe 1 portion. Okay, so that's the way we want it all flattened out. It's only about halfway up in the dish, and now we're going to start adding our mashed potato. So when you're adding your mashed potato, go to the sides. Okay, do the 4 corners first. Okay, 4 corners. Okay, and then work on the middle. Okay, add the potato into the middle, because if you just plop it straight in the middle, and what will happen is the mix will come up through the potato, and we don't want that. Okay, so gently we just fill in the holes with the mash instead of just banging it on in the middle and then spreading it. We like to work from the sides right in to the middle, and then we will spread the mash then with a palette knife. As you can see there, we've used up all our mash. Okay, we've used up all our mince, and now we filled in the corner. So basically by just patting the potato mix just to fill in the holes, okay, gently, because we don't want the mince coming up through potato, okay, because that won't give a nice effect. So we filled in the corners first, 4 corners, then we've gone for the middle here, the middle here, the middle here, the middle here, and then the middle, and then we've just gently and lightly just spreaded the potato out, okay, nice and gently, okay. You have to be gentle with it. If you're not gentle with it, what will happen is the mix will come up through the potato, and then it won't give it a nice effect. So the same situation here with the small one. We just kind of gently just spread out the potato with a spoon. Okay, we make sure that there's no holes. Okay, so what we're going to do is now we're just going to get our palette knife and just gently just run over to the corners, get it nice and level. Okay, get our palette knife nice and gentle. So the small one. Okay, nice and flat and nice and gentle. Okay, so we've just leveled the potato off nice and gently then, and with the palette knife there, on the small one and on the big one. So the next stage, and what we're going to do is now, we're going to get a fork, and we're just going to run the fork like so, just to give it a ripple effect on top. Okay, so down in lines with the fork, just to give it a nice ripple effect there on the cottage pie. Okay, we'll give it a nice ripple effect. Okay, and the same on the small one. A nice ripple effect there. Okay, it gives that nice ripple effect there to the cottage pie. Okay, so we've gone down straight, so we can do it across now. Okay, so it's giving it that nice cottage pie ripple effect, and before we put it into the oven. Okay, so there we go. We've a nice ripple effect now on our cottage pie. Our cottage pie is ready to go into the oven for cooking. Okay, so there's a nice ripply kind of effect there on the cottage pie. Okay, what I like to do is as well, I like to get a scone cutter and just maybe mark one circle, a couple of circles here, just in relation to portion control. Okay, it just gives it a nice effect also with the circles. Okay, so a nice little effect. Okay, with the circles. Same here on this one. So it'll give it a nice effect when it goes into the oven. Now that's just optional. Okay, so there we go. We have a lovely ripple effect now on our cottage pie, and it's ready for the oven. So as you can see here, we placed our cottage pie into a preheated oven. Okay, so the oven has been preheated just below 200, as you can see here. So we're putting the cottage pie in now into the preheated oven, and we're going to cook it out for the next 15 to 20 minutes until the potato goes nice and crispy. So anytime you're cooking anything, it's always very important to keep checking on the dish or the item that you're cooking. So here you can see the cottage pie is in the oven for 10 minutes. So you can see that the colour is starting to take place, and with the potato on top, it's starting to get nice and crispy. So what we're going to do is now we're just going to lower down the heat on the oven, and we're going to cook it out for another 10 minutes. Okay, and the cottage pie should be ready now. So there we go. Our cottage pie now is in best part of 20 minutes, so it's ready now. Okay, so we can see the nice colour that's after coming on the cottage pie. So we're going to take it out now and let it set, and then it's going to be ready for service. Alright, so there we go. After an hour and 15 minutes from start to finish, our cottage pie is ready. Okay, so we can see there that lovely crispy effect there on the top with our mashed potato, and it's up to turning out quite nicely. So what you can do is we're going to let that set now for about 10 minutes. Okay, and then we're going to cut it into, you probably get about 6 portions out of the dish, and then we have a nice portion there, individualised portion. So we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of chives just to give a little bit of colour. Okay, and we let it set for about, as I say, for about 10 minutes, and then we cut it up, and we can serve it. You can serve it with baked potatoes, or chips, or side salad, or maybe some vegetables. You can also make it the day before and let it go cold, portion it, and then put it in the fridge, and you could have you know, a dinner maybe live by yourself. You know, best part of it should keep in the fridge for about 3 or 4 days. Okay, so there we go, a lovely homemade cottage pie. Okay, that would cost, you know, in around 10 euros to make, as we see there, about 7 to 8 portions of cottage pie.